Here we go. I'm just kidding, guys. Hey, what's up? It's Mr. Combo number 5. And welcome to episode 133 of CMDtower's Brews and Builds. And I'm here with a fairly new host who puts the rando in random deck theme, Brando from CCO. How's it going, sir?
It's going fantastic, my friend. How are you?
I am good. Okay, you being a friend from the north, as we all know, that is Canada. How familiar are you with the state of Kansas?
Well, I know Dorothy is from there.
Yeah.
And she's not there anymore until she got some shoes off of a lady she killed with her house.
Yes.
What else happens? What else do I know about Kansas? That's it. There's tornadoes in Kansas and no people named Dorothy. That's what I know.
Yep. Yes, you are correct about Dorothy. She was a little white girl out on a farmhouse that somehow got taken from black and white to color and killed an old lady, stole her shoes, and tricked an old man into giving her his balloon. And but we're also known for lots of openness and long, boring drives. So today I just spent 6 hours round trip driving from where I live, which is Kansas City, major metropolitan area, to like some small town customers that I have in Kansas. So my butt's a little sore from sitting in my car for so long, but it was great. My boss came in town. I haven't seen him in over 2.5 years, basically pre-pandemic. So it was great to actually see my actual boss. It was great to actually shake customers' hands. It was so good. And I mean, the 6-hour drive is exhausting. I'm literally setting up calls for customers next Wednesday, because that's when we're recording this, to also do this drive again. Because it was like, I feel like today I didn't get as much productivity done, but it was good to actually see people IRL.
Man,
so that's a little bit about my day.
You are the first and possibly only human I have ever met that has ever said, damn, it was good to see my boss. That was like the hardest part about like the pandemic for me is it was me and like 2 other people that worked in the office where I am, right? Everybody else was working remotely. And we had that for like a year. Yeah. And then when all the bosses and stuff started coming back to the building, it's like, oh, I can't leave early. Oh, I can't like drink on the job anymore. Oh, like everything sucks. Like real life is terrible.
It's almost reverse for my job because like my team, we're spread out across like 5 states, I think is what my boss manages us across. It's like Kansas, Missouri, Illinois, Nebraska, Oklahoma. And so pre-pandemic, we're always out in the field. But when we went virtual, he's like, always could ping you on Skype or Teams or Zoom. And so you could always get hit by your boss. But once you're actually out in the field, you get a little bit more freedom because it's like, hey, I can't do your TPS reports. Shout out the office space because I'm in the car today for 6 hours visiting customers. And they'll be like, oh, I get that. I respect that. I'll have someone else take care of it for us. But when I'm just sitting at home 9 hours a day, it's like, you got time. You can get it done.
Yeah, balls that. That's terrible. But I'm glad that you're back out having fun. That's important.
Yes. Yeah, it was great. I unfortunately though, our customer took us today to a barbecue spot, and I'm in like shred lose weight mode for the wedding, which really just means I'm trying to eat a little bit better and work out a little bit more. And so I get there and everyone's like, "Oh, let me get pulled pork sandwich, mac and cheese, cornbread," and I'm like, "Can I have shredded chicken, no bun, and green beans and carrots?" It was so sad.
Is that
Such
real? Did you really order that?
Yeah, I did.
Dude, man, that's disrespectful to your client, man. Like he brought you out there he wanted you to have like the greasiest chicken with a double helping of mac and cheese, some collard greens, and like 3 beer. You know that he did. And congrats on the no beer, because no drinking and driving, that's important.
Yep.
The rest of that stuff, like you should have partaken, man. I guarantee you would have had a good time. Guaranteed.
That's very true. But hey, it's been a while since we've talked. A couple months. How's life up north, and what's going on in your world?
My life is interesting at the time. We've been quite busy. We're selling our home. We're gonna move somewhere else, so we've been dealing with that. I haven't ever actually sold a house before, so like I'm learning
a lot.
like they want you to pack all your stuff. So like to get at my magic stuff now, I have to go through like this closet that I've like rigged shut so that people when they're looking can't go in it. And it's a nightmare, and it feels like we're half moving out, but we're not moving out, which is just
Yeah.
really weird. And there's strangers looking at my stuff, and they're looking at my stuff, and they know how cool my life is. They're gonna come back in here and steal all my crap. But that hasn't happened yet. The weather has finally broken. Winter is over up where I am in the I'm gonna say the Nebraska of Canada.
Okay.
Which is flat as hell. We finally have that. The geese are back, so that's not so great. But other than that, everything is hunky dory. It's been a good time. I'm still plugging away. CCO's going very well. We just finished
Awesome.
our Kickstarter business, got all that sent off to people,
Great.
and we're back to in-person magic here, which is really great. Which is super fun. I think first no mask magic game is tomorrow, which is Thursday
that's
the 7th,
exciting.
which is really cool because a couple people came last week and they just like they put the mask on when they go into the venue where we play, and I didn't recognize them. So there's like I've made all these friends I've been playing with for months, and I have no idea what they look like. So I'm really excited to see their faces.
That's so full. It's like, hey, do this. Can you do that for me? Okay. Yeah, you're Brad. You're Jenny.
Because people even sound different without their masks on, right?
Yeah.
They have that little muffle. So like, I don't recognize their voices. I don't recognize their faces. I have no idea who these damn people are. I'm like, oh, hey, Brando, what's up? And it's like, hey
guy.
you fucking guy. What's up, man? Oh, shit.
So I got two questions for you.
Oh, dang.
First question, and it should be a quick one. Are geese just as big of assholes up in Canada as they are here in the U.S.? And then question two, a little bit more in-depth one. Has your housing market gone through the GD roof like it has here in the U.S.? Like housing costs have, doubled in value or gone up 50%, and just people are overpaying for the housing market. So first, answer the geese question: are they dicks? But then second, is your housing market, did it get impacted by the pandemic?
As bad as the geese are wherever you are, they're worse here by a lot. Well, because they come here to lay eggs and have babies. They're just as big assholes, but they're also like protecting their young.
Yeah.
So they're just the worst. And they come in and they take over everything. Like if there's ducks or other birds living somewhere, the geese just come in and they got like their bike chains.
Get the hell out of here.
Oh yeah, they kick them all out and they just have their babies and they're just
showing up, snapping fingers, looking menacing.
Half of the zoo here in town you can't even get to in early spring because the geese just like take it over and you can't go in there.
Really?
It's wild. As far as the housing market has gone, where in the rest of Canada, it's pretty bad right now for people. Where I'm at, I think we're the most affordable, like the two major cities in Saskatchewan where I live are the two like major cities in Canada that are still affordable to live in, which is really cool. The market went up just enough where we're going to get more than we paid for our house, but it's not so expensive that we're never going to sell it or we have to wait for Scrooge McDuck to come by to buy it, right? So we're in an okay spot here, which makes me happy both for us because we're going to do okay and for somebody else because somebody's out there looking for their first home and they can actually afford it. And that makes me happy.
Yeah, but then you also got to think of the second degree of separation from that to where eventually you and your partner are going to be that person looking for a house and you don't want to be overpaying by an absurd margin for the next one. So it sounds like you guys are actually in that perfect sweet spot where it's like, yeah, we're getting a little bit more money than we paid, but we're also not going to be paying out the ass for the next place like maybe some people are in the rest of the country.
Precisely. Oh yeah, like there's coming down with new, like, I don't know if they're laws, but rules for people buying new houses and stuff in some of like the big cities in Canada. It's I'm super glad I live where I do, both because it's nice and there's people here that I like, but also because I can afford to live here. And that's pretty cool.
Yeah. It's something, and the last thing that I'll say, my fiance and I'm very career driven. And I've understood in my line of work and where I want to go, potentially I'm going to have to move and be flexible to move throughout the country.
Oh, no.
And it's been something that it's been stressful because it's like we live a very comfortable life in Kansas City because the cost of living is so affordable. I have a great job. And we're just able to do that. But it's like literally if I picked up and I lived in Colorado, I would be lower middle class with my income. And it's like complete change of lifestyle and not getting anything as a benefit. So that's actually been a stressor for us as we're like, I'm looking at like new jobs, new positions at my company. And like, well, we might have to move to like Phoenix, Arizona or San Francisco or stuff. And it's like, well, I'm going to get a little pay bump because I'm getting a promotion, but the cost of living is 5 times the cost of Kansas City. And it's like, do we even want to do that? Or do I just want to stay where I'm at? Because it's like the cost of living is so affordable. So I get it, man. If any of our listeners, if you find a spot and you feel like, hey, it's very affordable to live where I'm at, hold on to that, because there's a lot of people out there that rent and mortgages are going through the freaking roof because of everything.
CMDT life lesson. That's what that is.
Mm-hmm. For real.
CMDT. Yeah,
well, guys, we appreciate you listening. And of course, we couldn't do this without your patron support and our existing patron community at patreon.com/CMDtower. Seriously, $1 to $25. We have lots of different rewards, lots of different swag that you get for just signing up, including it'll be coming out at the end of April, our first official collective diagnosis, where we had you, the community, send us your thoughts and feelings on treasures. We're going to play your thoughts and feelings that you recorded for us, or maybe have some mystery guests read off your stuff, and Tuck and I just kind of spitball what you think. It's something we're going to do every few months because we feel like it's great for the community to be able to echo your thoughts and feelings to the community as well, and not have it get lost in some toxic Reddit thread. Who likes that? So just make sure to go sign up and support your CMD Tower team if you can. Now, if you are currently a part of our patron program, we do have a referral program. Anyone you refer to join the collective, just have them message us on Patreon. And depending on their tier, we'll send you some free swag just as a thank you for promoting and growing our community. Because as much as Tuck and I talk every single week, and Murphys and the streams and T-Coats with the video editing, it's you guys that actually go out there and let people know what we're doing and growing our base. So we want to reward you if we can. Now, for any of those people out there that maybe saw my sweet sweater that I wore on stream, maybe it's our foil playmat that I used as well, or any of the other swag that we have, you can always head over to our store, cmdtower.com/merch. We do sell everything on there. There are a bunch of redacted bits that contractually I'm not allowed to talk about, but you guys can probably go back and listen and get what those are. But, we do have a bunch of stuff on there. One of the great buys, in my opinion, is we have our CMD Tower 100-pack card sleeves. They're only $5. And they're matte. They have a cool red inside, super durable. And we're even doing a promo where you get a free pack of sleeves with every sweater that you buy. So I know it's a little outside the winter season, but hey, Christmas in July is right around the corner. So just make sure to check out cmdtower.com/merch if you feel like you have a little extra income you can do to help. And then, of course, abyssproxyshop.com, code CMDtower. That's going to get you 10% off your order, and it's combinable with every other discount they have on their website. So you guys have seen the playtest cards that I use, my Najeela Mythical Archive deck. It could be a Game of Thrones Kenrith deck. It could be some of the playtest cards I've gotten for my friends and family as Christmas gifts. The guy in the group has a massive database of just different stuff that they can do, and they do custom. And literally, it's only $5 for a custom card. It's so cheap. And they even had a thing: you spend $100, you get your 10% off. It's only $90. They give you another 10% off. Then it's $80. And then they literally send you one of every Aber duel for free as well. Playtest version, of course. I don't want people thinking they're getting like $10,000 in free cards. And seriously, go support them. You guys have actually been growing that support month over month, 1,000%. So thank you, and continue to proxy. And of course, the free way to help and support CMD Tower is just share the content you're watching, listening, or potentially reading, because every little bit of interaction from the collective does help. So Brews and Builds is our deck tech series. Since we conquered the path to 32 and the 12 themes of EDH decks, we have moved on to the classic Day 1 Brews and Builds with a traditional episode. We describe the brewing of decks similar to how beer is brewed. So we broke it down into 4 different categories. The first one's ramp and setting your board state. We actually call that grains. And grains are the foundation of every beer. I can't do a BigTuck sound. Yeah, guys, grains is basically how you're going to establish your board state in the beginning of the game. It's going to be your card draw. It's going to be your ramp. If you're a token deck, maybe it's getting some blockers out there, maybe getting some go wide stuff. Just whatever you feel like your deck needs to kind of get those turns 1 through 5 really going. Then we have how does your board interact with all of your opponents, and we call that hops. And hops is going to be the best way that your deck is going to interact with whatever your opponents do at the time. It could be a counter magic, it could be removal, it could be pillow fort, just whatever it takes to kind of make your opponent slow their dinner roll. And then we have how does the deck actually close out and win? That's yeast. And yeast is that's the fire. That is the hot sauce. That is what's going to get this deck from 0 to 100, whether it's its weird meme, like Seven Dwarf Tribal, or just straight out dominating and pushing in poop. It's just winning. Then finally, we have shenanigans. These can be pet card synergies. Don't have a ton today, or do we have all of it today? We call that spice. And spice, guys, these are cards that can loosely fit a theme, maybe kind of fit, maybe it's just a pet card, like me with Altar of the Brood and Murder. I wish I could put those in every single deck. Oh, wait, I already put Altar of the Brood in every deck. Fun fact, I actually have Altar of the Brood, I believe I counted, in more decks than Sol Ring. Just want to put that out there. Altar of the Deck is a beast. And then to seal the episode, we have a bottle capping. And the bottle capping is going to be cuts and adds to the deck that are recommendations from myself and BigTuck. Because Brando's too close to this deck. He can't be objectionful. So we're going to do it for him. But we got to make sure the cards cost under $5, under $50, and a no budget recommendation. We just couldn't give him mana-only lands. So without further ado, let's get brewing. Today, we're continuing part 2 of our partner, non-partner legendary challenge with Kazzul's Lucky Rune-Tail. This will be premiering May 2nd at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time on our Twitch stream at twitch.tv/CMDtower. And this will be Brando, my deck from last week, BigTuck's deck that'll be discussed next week, and to seal off the month, we have Marketing Ross, our great artist that has done a lot of contributions to the team, and you're going to get to see a lot of shenanigans. But Brando, we got this deck. Before you kind of go into how this deck came to be, why don't you read off your red commander? I'll read off the white commander, and then you just dive into how this Frankenstein just got stitched together.
All right, man. My red commander is Kazzul, Tyrant of the Cliffs. He's a 5/4 for red 5. He's an ogre warrior. Doesn't super matter. And what he does is whenever a creature an opponent controls attacks me, they have to pay 3. If they do not, I get a 3/3 red ogre.
And the other non-partner partner is going to be Rune-Tail Kitsune Ascendant. This is a 2 colorless white, 2/2 legendary creature, Fox Monk. And whenever you have 30 or more life, flip Rune-Tail Kitsune Ascendant. Seems like a card they would just kind of ban for EDH just because we start off with 40 life. That's weird, but we'll continue. Rune-Tail's Essence is a legendary enchantment that it turned into, and it just straight up says, guys, prevent all damage that would be dealt to creatures you control. So, Brando, what?
Well, when you the interaction between the two is obvious in that Kazzul is a wicked, sick, ghostly prison, and Rune-Tail gives me a bunch of indestructible blockers that my opponents make for me when they attack. The deck itself is designed to encourage attacking at me, but also make it difficult for my opponents to cast spells or reuse their mana, making them unable to pay for the Kazzul trigger, thus netting me several ogres, and then I use those little Shrek boys to go over the wall and beat wholesale ass. The actual story of where the deck came to be is a listener to CCO sent us in what is still probably one of my favorite lists I've ever seen, and it was a Kazzul Tyrant of the Table. I believe it's on Tapped Out if you want to take a look at it. It's a super cool list where it was just Kazzul and all the encouraging attack cards. Like forcing people to attack me. And I built it, and I was like, I didn't build this. I feel kind of bad playing this one, but I don't want to take it apart, so I kind of just had it off to the side. I also had a Rune-Tail STAX deck at the time that just, for all the reasons mono white doesn't get played very often, was bad. It was just not very good. So one day I was like, you know what? I'm going to combine these two.
Okay.
But I had to come up with a way of letting people, like, convincing people to let me rule 0 a STAX deck and another STAX deck that I mixed together with two obviously hyper-powered together commanders. So what I did was I made the mana base basically all basics, sans
Yep.
3 lands, and 2 of them might as well be basics because they're fetches.
Absolutely.
Untapped basics. And then I have like however many red cards and however many white cards, but they equal to 50 white things, 50 red things. And then I mix them together in some kind of jumpstart-esque Frankenstein's monster. And it plays pretty good so long as I draw from both sides of the deck. Because typically if I draw all the white stuff, I have the mono white problem. And if I draw the Kazzul, I don't have enough protection for myself. And I force people to beat the crap out of me. And then I'm dead. So the mixture is what is important here.
Yeah. This is going to be a challenging deck on the stream, and I love it because let me tell you, my Athreos Joyra of the Gitu is not going to be a cupcake either. So I think this is actually perfect so far from what I've seen everyone brewing, because I think we are going to kind of need a policeman at the table, not because people are playing like way overpowered stuff, because that was actually my idea behind this, Brando, is I'm someone that I did my Path to 32, one of every color deck. There are, I know Brea, because that's why I did this, but I want to say there's the Saskia color pie. I don't think I've built either. A lot of the 4 color options are kind of boring or done. Yeah. And I've been asking for years, let's get some more 4 colors, and Wizards won't do it. And I've heard the excuse of, oh, you can't open partner to everything because then it's just busted. Everything's broken. It's just chaos. And I was like, you know what? Let's get some semi-responsible individuals that are still slightly sober to do this, and let's see if it's truly that broken. And so I actually think having a deck like this at the table is good, because it is one of those things like, hey, we did a rule 0. Okay, we're playing like some unknown power level decks. Let's have someone here that can kind of like keep things in check and no one can accidentally explode. So I actually love the initial concept of this. And I've talked to Brand. I've mentioned it probably like 5 times now. Offcast, I've talked to BigTuck about it, Marketing Ross. I love that we thought of this idea. We said, let's do a Brews and Builds month, followed with a Twitch stream. And I said, okay, I think CCO Brando would be totally down to do this. He's that kind of chaos guy. And I hit him up, guys, and I kid you not. He's like, oh, Mr. Combo, good to hear from you. By the way, already have it done. Here's the deck. He just had this laying around like a crazy man.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah. What did you expect? What did you expect? And the deck I was actually going to build, but I didn't have time for it with all the stuff happening in life. I was going to do Krenko and Mazarek.
Oh, my gosh. Oh, your goblins.
Right? And it was going to be amazing. But you know how it is.
Yeah.
I was just thinking, man, if I could, you tap Krenko, you sack all the non-hasty goblins to a goblin bombardment to get all the blockers out of the way, then the remainder of your goblins are giant, and then I can win. But here we. I mean, maybe I'll still build it, and we'll see how it goes. But here we are.
Well, I think you might be shocked to hear the deck is listed at 56% competitive. So I guess I would put it at a 5.5 to 6 power level. I think that probably sounds about right. A 6 power level.
Probably. I think if I had a better land base, I'd probably be able to push it higher than that. But and some obviously excludes where I only have a couple of cards that are both white and red. If I delved in there, I could probably push this into an actual fairly stout control list, and it already is, but it could certainly be more so if I wanted it.
And I'm curious, because I feel like you've had decks that kind of are a little bit lower CMC. Your deck's a 2/8/4. Was that kind of done on purpose, or was that just a happy accident?
Happy accident.
Nice.
I built it. I kind of went to opposite town. When we get into it, we'll see later. Like my board state establishing, my ramp section, my grains, as you call them, they're limited in the traditional sense to like a few cards, but I just load it up with hate bears so that other people couldn't out-ramp me because I'm playing white and red. So I'm not beyond the obvious cards. I'm not ramping very hard. So I filled it up with a bunch of low-cost stuff that stopped you from doing it too, and slow everybody else down. So they have to feel the same pain that I do until that mid to late game when we can start throwing bombs, and then we're throwing bombs at the same time.
Okay.
which I like. You got to keep it
Yeah.
fair.
Yeah, that's fair magic. Everyone's
Yeah.
throwing bombs.
Yeah. Just my bombs are better than
Deck
yours. And
cost, if anyone wanted to build this deck, you get it for about $700, but literally one grain card taken out, and it's about a $500 deck. So
yeah.
it's right there, what I would call median price range. It's sad to say that a $500 deck is a median price, but that's the fucking world we live in.
Yeah.
And
the one card that I know which one you're talking about, I don't play it in here because it's necessary. I played it because I had an extra one.
Sure.
And Kazzul is a 5-mana commander in a deck with no ramp.
Yeah.
And when he becomes a 9-mana commander, you need stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it's just an unfortunate aspect.
But see, here's the thing, though, that, you know what, I'll talk about that more when we get to it. Guys, let's get into this deck and start with the grain section. Now, we're going to do it a little non-traditional. We only have truly 6 grain options. So, Brando and I are just going to kind of like run them down. Some of them are kind of boring. I'll elaborate a little bit more on the one. But I'll start it off. We'll just go alphabetical order. The first one's Arcane Signet. 2 colorless artifact, adds 1 mana of any color to your color commander's identity. Guys, it's boros. You need mana rocks.
Yeah.
Into argument, I guess.
Yes. And I guess the next one, did we just go on like that? Is that how it works?
Yeah, go hit this next one. And I actually have a cool tech for this one for you, and I'll see if you go into it. So read the card.
Cursed of Opulence. You do the dance. Those who know. If you don't know, look it up. 1 red, aura curse, enchant players. You enchant either yourself or somebody else. Whenever enchanted player is attacked, you get a colorless artifact named Gold. It's basically a treasure that you can sack it without tapping it. So it's technically a better treasure. And the player that's doing the attacking also gets one.
And oh my gosh, this card's almost $16.
Yeah.
Absurd.
It's a commander. Is it a commander only or a commander deck only one? EDH deck? I think that's why.
Yeah, has it only been printed once? Maybe it has. I know it came out of I think it's the Edgar Markov set. So it's just, that's such an expensive commander precon with Teferi's Protection. We just found out the 1 theft vampire sorcery where you sack a vampire, steal a creature. That's now like $8, $9.
Oh, man.
That deck is just, that box has just gotten expensive. So Here's the beautiful thing with Curse of Opulence. I don't know if you've gotten to play this deck ever or often, but this is some tech that I taught to Tuck. He did it and it literally won him the game. So guys, if you're doing this like, hey, I want to kind of do combat, and when you come at me, I'm getting big shit that can't be destroyed, throw Curse of Opulence on yourself. You will have, because here's the thing, guys, if I put it on Brando being my opponent and I got 2 other people, well, I only get stuff if my opponents attack that person. I am the curse controller. I am always here. And I am always probably open for business because people hate the person doing curses. So when you put it on yourself, anytime someone is swinging, you're always getting a gold. And with this deck, it's like, hey, I'll put it on myself. And it almost becomes a 1 mana propaganda because it's, okay, do I want to pay 3 to not give him an ogre? And do I want to give him a gold? Or do I not want to, can I not pay 3? Give him a gold and a 3/3 just for me to get a single gold. Like, it's only advantage for you if you have, Kazzul out there. What do you think about that weird kind of approach?
I have done that before.
Nice.
It is as good as you say. It really is. There's a couple of cards in here we will touch on later that get people coming at you anyway. And in my experience with this deck, they don't usually make non-profitable attacks, but they will make deals that they can like swing into me without losing a guy. It's like, hey, I'll give you your 3/3 and you can block with it. Just don't like triple block my creature and kill it off. Sure.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
You get a basically indestructible ogre and a gold token 3 times a turn. And then when it gets back to you, then you punish them.
Then you whip wholesale ass.
Exactly. You punish them for being good friends.
God, you're such a Liliana, just punishing people for being good friends. The next one in here is Land Tax, guys. It's just a single white enchantment. It's probably the most important 1 mana enchantment to mono white out of everything out there, or 1 mana card. I'd say this is better than Soul Ring in most white decks. At the beginning of your upkeep, an opponent has more lands than you. You get to search your library for up to 3 basics, put them to hand, shuffle the library. It's pretty basic, guys. We're boros. We're going slow. We got a deck full of basics. Great thing about this is I'm usually anti-discarding cards. I usually don't like doing that. I feel like I'm losing value unless I have ways to get them back in my deck. This card, I never feel bad about discarding basics. It's like, oh yeah, end of turn, I'll discard 6 basics, 4 basics, just fucking throw them away. I don't care. I'm just, just setting them on fire.
Get 'em out of here.
It really thins your deck down so much to where by the time you're out of basics, you're like, oh, I'm hot gas now. Just every card is just banger, banger, banger. And I love that.
I'm into that too. And with the deck like I think land tax is one of the very few cards that actually get you to the point where, like, yes, my deck is thinned now. And while this deck is hard to thin because it's all basics, but after a few turns, after a turn 1 land tax, you're going to...
Yeah.
Also, quick hint out there for everybody who might be new or like me and they just never really thought of it. It does find any basic land, not just plains. I played land tax for the first couple of years of my EDH experience, finding only plains with it. And when I finally read the card again, I felt like an idiot.
Yep, I love it that it's any, because I wish, of course, we all wish it said any 3 lands you want, but that's just straight busted sauce.
Yeah,
but yeah, I mean, I think if it said basic plains, it would probably be unplayable outside of mono white. So at least they had the forethought back in the 90s or whenever this card was printed to make it any basic. And it's great because this can work to go grab wastes, because wastes are basics. They just don't have a color.
Hey, yeah. If you're doing the waste thing. Solid.
Yeah, if you're doing the waste thing, which some people, hey, you need that diamond.
Yeah.
All right, what's the next one on the list?
The next card is we were talking about this a little earlier based on the expense of it. It's a mana crypt. It's a 0 mana artifact. Comes in, taps for 2. At the beginning of your upkeep, you flip a coin. If you lose the flip, it deals 3 to you. It's one of the, if not the most powerful mana rocks in the format. It will get you there most of the time.
So here's why I don't think this card should ever need an apology when people are like putting it in their deck, because you were not the first one to be like, yeah, like, look, like, it's almost like you feel like you have to defend Mana Crypt. And I think it's because we have this kind of toxic thing in our community where an expensive card makes you a bad person or a tryhard. And that's not the case, because guys, you have heard this numerous times, and people from CCO tuning in hear this. This card has killed me more than any one opponent. I have lost more games to Mana Crypt than I have to Sir Brian. I think he literally, MTG Lord of Leaves over at the Vorthos cast, has an Excel sheet of the times that he's killed me and Mana Crypt's killed me. And I'm pretty sure Mana Crypt might outweigh him at this point.
Wow.
So this, I just lose flips. It's random. It's 50-50. And basically, guys, this is a free Soul Ring that has a chance to lightning bolt you every turn.
Every turn.
Yeah, it's powerful because it's free, but it's not this disgusting, oh my god, you played Mana Crypt. Like, just let's get away from this toxic mindset. It's a mana rock. It makes 2 diamond mana. Yeah. It's not even 2 mana of any color.
Yeah. Well, if it was 2 mana of any color, okay. Shit, right?
That's fine. Yeah. There we go.
Yeah.
All right.
Now people can hate on it all they want.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Next one on the list, guys, is Nyx Lotus, 4 colorless legendary artifact that ETBs tapped. You can tap it, choose a color, add an amount of mana color equal to your devotion of that color. This is essentially, oh my gosh, why am I drawing a blank? Brando, help me out. The land.
Shrine to Nyx?
Thank you. I kept wanting to say Nyx Bloom Ancient, and I'm like, no, you SOB. Yeah, it's basically just a mana rock version of that, which is very cool. That card's fairly expensive, so it's great that Nyx Lotus is only $3 off TCG Player. I'm curious, though, and the few times you've been able to play this, do you ever really have devotion to where Nyx Lotus is worth it?
I always compare this card to Artifact 5 taps for 3.
Gilded Lotus.
Gilded Lotus. I always compare it to that. And how often am I going to have more than 3? And it's often enough that I'll have 3 or more that it's worth playing it. So this one's more of an experiment in that, like, I had one kicking around. And so in it went. And it served me okay. And for the one time where it really blows people out, it's really cool. So I'm going to tap my Nyx Lotus for 10, and everybody else is sitting. They can't even untap their land, and you're making 10.
You
And
go 10 and they all go, oh,
exactly.
just
They just
like, oh
give you the
God.
finger. They're just mad at you. It's amazing.
So you're actually, you think the upside for this is worth it for it coming down tapped? Because I know that's where a lot of people would kind of like shit on this card. It's like, well, it comes in tapped. I can't even use it immediately.
Yeah, and again, the deck is designed to kind of go slow, so it coming in tapped is just kind of, well, we're just playing the game everybody else is. And the
Yeah.
upside for me is high enough that it's worth trying. I'm sure if I played this deck more often, I'd have a better inkling of how good it actually is. In a monocolor deck, this card will blow the shit out of somebody.
Yes,
But
absolutely.
in a two-color deck like this, you get a little bit less play out of it. But I've found
Mhm.
that it served me as well as, and quite frankly, almost as quickly as Lotus Bloom.
Okay, cool. And we got one card left.
It's a Sol Ring. Everybody knows Sol Ring, right?
Yeah.
Is it the best card in the format as far as like just raw power for mana cost? I think it probably is. It's got no downside. It
Yeah.
doubles your investment immediately. Like everybody knows Sol Ring. If you got it, play it. If you don't want to play it, don't play it.
Yeah.
It's a Sol Ring.
Yeah, I mean, I've actually hit the point in my Magic career where it's like, I'll put it in decks that I know are just mana hungry. But a lot of times it's like, let me put in like something sexier. Let me do a 2-mana talisman, or I got a Lotus Petal laying around. Let me just let me try to diversify. Because it's almost gotten to the point, Brandon, I don't know if you have felt this way, because I know you're not this kind of deck builder, but like you're going down and it almost seems like every color and color pairing has its own list of like 30 cards that you just have to have in every deck. Like, oh yeah, you're building mono white. Here's a list of 15 cards that you absolutely have to have in there, or the deck is trash. And it just basically is like, okay, I take your 15 plus my 36 lands. I guess I could put in 40 cards that I want, that I think are cool or interesting. And then depending on your theme, that even reduces it down because there's staples attached to that. Do you kind of feel like you have to really push yourself to think differently? And like, I don't put Sol Ring in. Let me challenge myself to do something different.
100%. I really do believe that's a thing. I think that there are shells for everything, and they're good and bad, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like there's certain commanders that you play where you not need, but like if you're playing Norrin, for example, that's my favorite example of it. There's 5 or 6 cards that you just put in the deck because otherwise, why are you playing Norrin?
Yep.
And Sol Ring isn't one of them. And I think that those generically good stuff kind of cards they're skewing deck building, and I think that they're there, and that thought process is the reason that people are saying, oh, the format's getting muddied up or it's getting faster. It's because everybody's using that list of 15 cards as a base to build their deck every time, right? People only worrying about putting 30 cards in a deck because the rest of them are solved. And I mean, no shade on you if you do that, but I mean, if you want things to be more fun and spontaneous and have a different experience every time, try axing that list of cards.
And that's kind of where my mindset comes into it as well. Is like, if that's what you want to do, hey, have at it. I could care less. Like, so honestly, I could sit down at a table and people like do no rule zero conversation. I'm there with fucking vehicle tribal and they're all CEDH. And I'm like, well, I'm going to die quick, but that's all right. Like, whatever. So I could truly care less, but it's more when people kind of whine and complain about it. And it's like, well, how do you do it? And it's like, oh, well, I take this list and then I just throw in the 20 cards that I need for my theme. And it's like, well, maybe it's almost like a little bit look in the mirror. Like we as individuals can impact our gameplay and how much fun we have as much as our opponents can.
Yeah. Be the change you want to see. If you want the format to go slower, build decks that go slower. And then be fun when you play them, and people will want to play with you. And they'll be like, oh man, I don't need a deck that wins on turn 3. And so they'll come next week with something that goes a little slower because they enjoy playing games with you, right? And it works for me. I'm living proof that it works. So if you're sour about things being too fast, too competitive, just stop playing that game and people will come to you.
All right, guys. Well, that's going to wrap up the grain section. Now we're going to head over to how the deck interacts in the hot profile. Once again, going slightly off base just because the grain section was just straight, those 6 cards, pretty quick conversation. The spice, the whole deck is spice, so we don't actually have a spice. So what we're each going to do is actually, instead of doing the top 3 hops in each of our opinions, we're actually going to do the top 5 hops in each of our opinions.
Yeah.
Brando, this is your deck. I want you to start. What is the first hop card you want people to be on notice about when
Let
this hits
me
the
hit you
battlefield?
Let me hit you with a card that when I first saw it, I couldn't believe it was even a card.
Okay.
Let me hit you with this. Let me hit you with Trove of Temptation. Okay,
Okay.
let me
What's this
hit you with
card
this.
do?
It's an enchantment for red 3. Each opponent must attack me, or you, or whoever's playing the deck, or a planeswalker that we control with at least one creature every combat, if able. So you're getting attacked 100% of the attack steps if people are able to attack you. What's the benefit for this, you might ask? At the beginning of your end step, you get a treasure. That is all. So for one treasure, you are getting attacked by 3 people every turn.
And that's why this card is 12 cents. But
Yeah.
Brando, just quickly remind people why this is a banger.
Kazzul, Tyrant of the Cliffs, with
Yes.
our Rune-Tail, like they're going to swing into you and either pay 3 or give you a dude. So you're going to get 1 treasure. If you've got your Curse of Opulence on, you're going to get a gold, and you're going to get 3 ogres every round of the table. And it's deceptively good and incredibly funny if they kill your Kazzul, because it's like they feel bad for you. So it's like, I'll get you with this like utility creature. Like, I'll get in at you with my Eternal Witness because I feel bad because that card sucks so much and you're playing it anyway. But so in this deck, it is specifically awesome. I know that should go maybe in the spice category, but like it gets blockers out of the way. It gets you treasure. It gets you dudes. And it like you can kind of win a game off of a Trove of Temptation. And how awesome is that?
That is so cool. I love that. And yeah, I mean, the fact that one rotation can net you with Curse of, I mean, we are talking about magical, like Christmas land, but you have Rune out there. We got Kazzul. You got your Curse rotation, 3 ogres, 3 gold, 1 treasure. That's amazing. That's so much value. Yeah. And the fact that it's like so hard to almost stop that, because it becomes kind of that modal choice by your opponents, and that's where I'm starting to see your deck. I'm seeing you, and it's a lot of this like, there's no one card that's just like, oh my god, get rid of it, but it's a lot of like, oh well, this kind of feeds into that, and then that feeds into that, and then this kind of ties back to this. So it's almost that, well, I had a disenchant, what the hell do I disenchant? There's too many fucking options. And then it's like, well, okay, do I have to disenchant, then Eternal Witness to get disenchant back to disenchant again? Did I just like waste 7 mana to deal with this asshole? Like, I don't want to do that. It'll be someone else's problem. And that's what I've seen, Brando, when you kind of get this board state where everything's kind of talking to each other. People are like, mass board wipe. And then someone's like, well, I don't want a mass board wipe. That's my board too. It's just, you have created this perfect bubble of just your opponents being like, I don't know what to do.
I hate this. Also, if you ever want to counter a spell without using a counter spell, when somebody tries to kill your Trove of Temptation, just go, really? Really? And usually they'll stop. Like, they'll reread the card and like, I don't want to waste it. It's happened more than once. It's awesome. It's very good.
That is so cool. Well, my first hop card I want to talk to is a little bit of a toll that my opponents are going to have to pay to go to war. So I want to talk about War's Toll, because I freaking love this card. 3 colorless red. It's $4 now. Wow. Rare enchantment. Whenever an opponent taps a land for mana, tap all lands that player controls. If a creature an opponent controls attacks, all creatures attack that opponent if able. So one thing to clarify for people, and people meaning people listening, would be the first effect of it. You can float out your mana. I mean, anytime there are any of those things, it would just be I tap a mountain. Okay, well, War's Toll's on the stack. Do you want to interact with it? And if you just say no, then I guess all your lands get tapped and you get fuck all. But usually you just basically War's Toll, you have to float all your mana at once and just spend it in one big nut draw if you're tapping lands. But what I really like is that second effect for this deck, that force combat. You want to go in to just get a taste because you just wanted a gold and you and I made a deal. Well, now you actually have to attack with your whole army, and I didn't make a whole deal for your army. So Kazzul, I guess, is just going to make 10 ogres.
Yeah.
And now I got 10 30-30s. What you going to do? There's just so much you can do with this card.
It's super good in the deck, and it does exactly what you said. It's actually on my list, too, of cards to talk
amazing.
about. Yeah, like because and one of the things I really like about it, and when I build a deck that is kind of stacksy and controlly, one of the things that I like to do is I try and include things like this that make the game harder for everybody else. Like this makes the decision trees that you're going down.
Yes.
So if you're going to play something on your turn, you want to play a creature, well, you lose all your interaction for the rest of the turn cycle. If you want to attack, you lose all your blockers for the rest of the turn cycle. And it just makes the game way more difficult and way more all or nothing, which I love. But not everybody else is as into let's just go in as I am, right?
Yeah. I mean, you're just straight up like on Monday Night Raw, just like fucking coming in out of nowhere. The guy thought he already won the belt, and you're like, fuck you, let's go harder.
Yeah, and I roll in with the beer truck and just give it to him. It's amazing.
Oh, give it, 316 style. All right. Well, you and I matched up on War Soul, which is awesome. What would be the third card on your hop list?
This is a card that I throw into virtually any deck that can fit it because I love Hushbringer.
Oh, yeah.
And it's one of those it's one of my favorite 2-drops in all of the format because it just shuts off so much. And people don't even really understand the power of a 1/2 flying lifelinker for white 1 that makes creatures entering or exiting the battlefield, their abilities don't happen. It just turns aristocrats decks off. It turns all the blinkety blink decks, turns them off.
I actually totally like how you for years always thought land tax said basic planes. I always thought this should shut down creatures entering the battlefield. I had no idea that it was also the dying effect as well.
Yeah, like coming and going. It gets you. And it's got some evasion on it, so it can like block a little dinky flyer. Yeah. And it's got life links, so I mean, if you happen to fall below 30 and your Rune-Tail doesn't want to flip, you can kind of use your Hushbringer to sneak in to keep you up there. Hushbringer is such an understated card, and I think that it's one of those control pieces that you can play in virtually any deck, and people can't really get mad at it. It's not a winter orb. It's not a static orb, which we might talk about later. Like they're, you know what I mean? They're not as harsh or as hard, and it's not like a body that you can play removal and kill. But in those early phases of the game, it turns off an excellent amount of stuff, and in the later game, it does too.
Well, yeah, because I mean, I've always looked at Enter the Battlefield or basically any type of ETB, LTB effects that's free value. Or potentially the whole reason the card's in the deck, aka think like Acidic Slime. Nobody's running Acidic Slime for a 5-mana, 2/2 Death Touch.
That's people.
Awful. Zero people are signing up for that poll. Everyone's doing it for its destroy all the crap that it does. So yeah, Hushbringer is a slam dunk. But I will say, in my play group at least, this card brings so much hate because so many people use Enter the Battlefield. It's like, oh, well, now I got to kill Mr. Combo so that way I can get rid of Hushbringer. And I just want to be like, no, just use Murder or Wrath of God. Don't have to kill me.
Also really good against Solemn Simulacrum. Fast becoming my least favorite card. And like Hushbringer just makes him even worse. And I love that.
Well, the second card I wanted to talk about is such a mean card. But hey, it's modal. My opponents can pay for it. Fblthp the Enforcer.
Ooh.
Or just Enforcer. 3 colorless, white, 3/3. Creature, elephant, wizard. Whenever an opponent plays a spell, casts a spell, it's old wording, that player sacks a permanent unless he or she pays 1. What monster? Like, did someone just pee in your Cheerios? Like, what happened?
Mr. Combo, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
You want to pay the 1?
Fuck yeah, I want to pay the 1.
Yeah, you do, right? Like, Ristic study my ass. Like, this card is so good. And it makes your spells cost 1 more. Because nobody's paying something into this unless they have something that specifically they want to go in the graveyard, right? But I mean, that doesn't happen as often as I think people think. And it's the ultimate tax card. Like, because some people, they'll forget about it. And it's like, and I hate angles shooting like that. But they're like, windmill slam their thing that just wrecks me. It's like, are you going to pay the 1? I can't. Well, bud, I guess.
Sack a permanent.
Perm, dude. And then like inevitably the land goes into the graveyard. And it's it's so good. I love Fblthp.
That's actually kind of how I see this card snowballing for your opponents. Is a lot of people are like, ugh, I guess I'll just throw a basic land in there. Whatever, I'll draw another land. And I've done that before myself, to where not with this card, but like the sack a single permanent. And then I realize 5 turns later, I only got like 4 lands or 3 lands, and it's like turn 8. The hell I'm gonna do? I'm fucked. So, Brando, what would be the 4th card on your list?
I'm going to talk Angel's Trumpet.
Oh, okay.
An oldie but a goodie. Angel's Trumpet is an artifact for 3. It's got the group hug effect of attacking doesn't cause creatures to tap. So all creatures essentially when they're attacking have vigilance. But it also has an extra paragraph that says at the end of each player's turn, you tap all untapped creatures they control that didn't attack. And then Angel's Trumpet will deal 1 damage to them for each creature they tapped. So it's attack or eat shit. Right? And so in this deck, there's a whole bunch of stuff that makes it disincentivizes people to attack me as much as I want people to attack me.
Yeah.
And the reason that I do that is because Angel's Trumpet's going to encourage my 3 opponents to kill each other. And then it makes it way more easy for me to just kill that last guy.
Yep. Great card. Great reason to have it in here. Honestly, I think Angel's Trumpet, if you think of yourself as a chaos mage, you need to have a copy of Angel's Trumpet in your binder to put in all of your decks. Because honestly, I see this card and I would put this almost on the same level as oh my gosh, Warp World. Just shuffle everything up, get a bunch of random chaos. Like Angel's Trumpet's like, hey, everyone's swinging every GD turn, or you're taking damage. So of course people are going to be swinging. Like that's just what's going to happen.
Yeah. Either you're going to attack or you're not, and then somebody else is going to attack. Probably you, because you can't block now because you didn't attack. It's so good.
Well, my next card I wanted to talk about is a very cute card, and it's a Gobbo that likes to force creatures to attack. We're talking about the Goblin Diplomats. I've never seen this card. The set symbol kind of looks like a butt plug. B, it's a colorless red creature goblin, 2/1, tap, each creature attacks this turn if able. I love just holding that up to be like, so like, what's the plan there? I don't know. I think I'm just going to do this and then I'm going to pass. And I'm like, well, I think I'd actually like you to attack. Or you see someone make a deal with their Eldrazi Titan. Okay, I know we got to deal with Brando and his stuff. So let me just hold tight and I'll swing next time. I won't swing at you. And it's like, well, how about you do swing? How about we force your hand? Anytime, I love modal, but I actually love forcing my opponents more if I want to be honest with everyone. And this little quarter card is great.
It's super good. And it's in there for the exact reason that you just said. And that's the reason that it was also on my short list to talk about.
Oh, because nice.
Goblin Diplomats is so damn good for the same reason that Angel's Trumpet is good, because it just gets the blockers out of the way. And there are going to be times where we're not the threat, where we're not the problem, but we can protect ourselves, maybe even better than the other 2 players. And you can you just force threat guy to swing in and like kind of blow his load a little bit, where he's got to go in at you or else, right? And then you and the other 2 players at the table can get in there and kill him off, like the elf ball guy or maybe the sliver guy. You know what I mean? Because sometimes if you're playing those kind of creature combo decks, elves might be a bad example because they want to attack anyway, but you know what I mean? And early on elf ball, when they don't have their big mana sinks, get their dorks to attack and just kill them all with blocks.
Yep. Reese the Redeemed is a great example of that. That's usually a deck that like turn 4 or 5 is like really, really scary. So if you can kind of force Reese to attack when they don't have mana, it's like, I'm going to kill your commander over and over, so you can't populate your entire board and just go out of control. So yeah, that's great.
Super duper good.
I think you got 1 left. What's your or is that all of them?
That's all of them. Because we doubled up on 2.
Yeah,
man.
Well, I got 2 left. This one is amazing, and it partners great with everything we talked about, because we talked about needing to force creatures to attack. Now, we also want some advantages when we force our opponents to attack, so Light Mine Field will just murder everyone. Two colorless white enchantment, $2.34. Whenever one or more creatures attack, Light Mine Field deals damage to each of those creatures equal to the number of attacking creatures. Hey, I think Goblin Diplomats want you to attack. You now have to attack. Well, Light Mine Field's going to board wipe you. How's that feel?
Yes, and it feels great. And keep in mind, it deals damage. Mm-hmm. So as long as we have a Rune-Tail, we can attack through it and not give a damn.
Yep.
That's very important.
And it's also important that Kazzul is an attack trigger. So a lot of times there will be stuff like, hey, if it's unblocked, you get this. Or if no one blocked it. Light Mine Field with Kazzul, you could still get your 3/3s and they still lose their attackers. And that's what's beautiful about it. It's like, hey, you lost your whole board. Do you also want to pay 3 so I don't get a dude? No one's going to say yes to that. They're like, fuck you, Brando.
And it's not even 3. It's like, do you want to pay 15?
Oh,
so I don't
yeah,
get
that's
5
true.
dudes, right? Like, it's even worse. And of course, you're sitting there like, hey. Because you know they can't pay because you made sure that they had to tap all their mana before combat with a Wars Toll.
Yeah, you're like the U.S. government. We got in there, took all of our taxes, and now you're penniless, and now you're dependent on us. And then the last one I want to talk about is Archon of Emeria. I really like this card a lot. It kind of reminds me of Thalia. 2 colorless white, creature Archon flying. Each player can't cast more than one spell each turn. Non-basic lands your opponent's control enter the battlefield tapped. This is essentially Kalia just swapping the creatures entering tapped with the can't cast more than one spell each turn. And I actually I think that's a good trade-off for this deck because I also have a STAX deck. Traditionally, you're not STAX card. It's like usually STAX card, hold up responses, or impulse draw, stuff like that. Yeah. And Archon of Emeria gives you that extra advantage because you don't even want creatures entering tap. Like if my opponents get Hasty Boys come my way. I want some ogres. I want some benefits. So is Archon of Emeria, has it done the work that I'm thinking it does in my head? Or is it maybe read better than it actually plays?
It plays quite well on the deck. It didn't perform amazingly the times that I've played it. But as mana bases become exponentially greedier, that second ability is clutch. Mm-hmm. Because, like, if you could power this out, let's say turn 1 with a Mana Crypt, like, you're going to slow down all your opponents probably by multiple turns because they only play 4 basics. You know what I mean? I'm not sure what your play group is like, but the guys that I play with are greedy AF. That's why things like Blood Moon and Magus of the Moon and this are just unbelievable in maybe my meta, but I think in general too, because everybody's playing non-basics now.
Yeah, I am a greedy mana-based person, but that's mainly because in our local play group, and what we really preach here at CMDtower is Magic the Gathering. It is a hobby. It is, I always use the example of people that are amateur, like go to the track and race cars and stuff. It's like, hey, if you want that nitrous tank that does extra stuff, you got to pay the money for it. It's not like you can just go get a free copy of it and play, even if you're not doing it for money or, any of that kind of stuff. So we've always kind of been on that idea or trained, hey, just own a copy of the card, and then we'll go ahead and, play test it. Use abyssproxyshop.com, shameless plug. And go ahead and get that done. So what I really, really like, or what I'm scared of actually, is my 4, because I did a 4-color partner deck. And buddy, I got basics, just not a lot of basics. So I'm a little puckered butthole a little bit. I'm a little scared.
I will get you.
Oh, you're going to get me.
Oh, yes. Yes, you're going to get got, sir. It's going to happen. And I'm really looking forward to that. I'm not going to lie.
Trust me, BigTuck will be looking forward to that as well. Well, guys, that wraps up this disgusting, just like FU hop section. Now let's see how all of this like FUs are going to translate into I wins in the yeast package. I'll start with, I think, a card that we both probably picked. I would assume Blade Historian. Great card. Was this one yours as well?
No, I knew that you were going to pick it. So I did.
Oh,
Yeah,
man, he's meta picking me now.
I meted
Well,
you.
we got hybrid. It's all boros, so you can pay any combination of red and white as long as it equals 4. Creature, human, cleric, 2/3. Attacking creatures you control have double strike. Not a whole lot to say here. Double damage is good, from what I hear.
Yes, it's fairly solid, and you turns your 3/3s. They swing for 6 now, and
Yep.
this might shock some people, but 6 is more than 3.
That's crazy.
Right? I know it's wild.
Now, is this a card when you play this deck like you're trying, or is this a card you're trying to get to because this really does help the deck win, or is it like, hey, happy accident, I get it, I'm happy?
Yes, is the answer to
Okay.
that question. No matter when you play this, it's one of those cards you kind of keep in your hand until you're down to like, oh, I could just about get there, and everybody, like, people will kind of sit on their laurels, like, oh, Brando's kind of he's jabbing and dodging, and this turns your deck immediately offensive, and you can take whatever you've got left and usually crush somebody with it. And
I was just more thinking from the aspect of, if this is a card you're trying to get, would it be worth exploring cards that give you benefits whenever you deal combat damage to a player? Because now you get double the benefit. I just wasn't sure if some double mint gum action was worth looking into.
hypothetically, I'm not playing any, but I'm open to suggestions, as we'll see later.
Yeah, okay.
But, I mean, as it stands right now, the Blade Historian is kind of the switch that turns my deck from defense mode to off. It flips from what is it? Face down to attack mode. I don't know. I don't play Yu-Gi-Oh. I don't know how to do it.
Yeah, I think it's defense mode to attack mode.
There we go. That's what the Blade Historian is for.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, hey, what is your first use card? I know what card it's not, because you already told me you hope that I cut this card from the deck. Joke. It's talked about. I love it. But what was your first use card?
Now, I didn't realize how much this card cost until today.
Okay.
So
I'm worried.
Because I always look at this as like one of the most underrated 1-drops in our format, and it's Serra Ascendant. And Serra Ascendant is a 1/1 for 1 white with lifelink, but let's be honest, because if you drop it on turn 1, it's going to be a 6/6 flying lifelinking 6/6 for 1 that flies and has lifelink. It's the most bonkers 1-drop. Yes. Maybe not ever, but holy crap, can this card do work?
Okay. Cards on the table. You have this in your opening hand, and you got land tax in your opening hand, and you got Soul Ring in your opening hand.
Ooh.
I'm playing Serra Ascendant every damn time turn 1, let me tell you. Because this card, turn 1, before my opponents can get this card killed, I am consistently, in the games that I've played, I'll be at like 70 plus life, and my opponents will be in the 20s before they can get rid of it. Because it's just so backbreaking early.
It will steamroll the game all by itself unless it's answered. And that's part of the reason why I play it, and all of the reason why I like it. Because if you play it turn 1, you're virtually guaranteed a swing with it. So you've swung the game by about 12 life for 1 mana. And if somebody uses a really good removal spell on it, which is your 1-drop, your 2-drop removal, that's amazing, because now you can't kill my Kazzul, you can't kill my Rune-Tail, because you used it to kill my Serra Ascendant. And if I get another attack with it, now we've had a 24-point life swing, 36, 48, right? Like, your Serra Ascendant can steamroll the whole game for 1 mana. Yeah. It must be answered, and it comes out on turn 1. And by the time it's answered, you're probably at 90 life.
And the next card I'm going to talk about is another amazing 1-drop, but this is mono red. Well, also one of my favorite cards. It is not $27 like Serra Ascendant. It's 67 cents. I love Dragon Master Outcast, man.
Yeah, dude.
Great job on putting this card in here. Dude. Single red, human shaman. It's a mythic. It's a 1/1. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you got 6 or more lands, you're making a 5/5 red Dragon Boy token with flying. So many people kind of, come at me with this card, not necessarily community-wise, just like, talking with people and whatnot. They're like, it's not good unless you're playing like a lands matters deck. You need to get the 6 or more so fast. And I'm like, no. Because kind of for the same logic to use with Serra Ascendant, if I put this down turn 1, people know it's coming. And if they waste their premium removal on it, hey,
amazing.
good for you.
Yeah.
Awesome. You don't. You ignore it for 6, or however turns it takes for me to get to 6 lands. Okay, I got 5/5 boys now, and it still only was 1 mana investment. So, love this card.
It's so good. Also on my list.
Oh
it's
my
so
gosh!
Damn good.
Look at that.
Because this deck is designed to strap an anchor to your opponents, right? You're getting to 6 land. You're going to get to 6 land in this deck. You will, because that's what the deck does. So you're going to get probably a dragon, or you're going to suck out another premium removal piece that your Kazzul now doesn't have to worry about.
Brando, I'm curious, little summary. Has CCO Nation started to look at deck building and cards to put in decks? It's like, this is a good card for my deck, but this will probably soak up premium removal, and that's almost better than what the card does. Because I'll be honest, me and Tuck have started to go into that mindset where we'll almost put bait cards in decks, where it's like, if I get to keep it, it's good, but it's almost better because I would rather them waste their enchantment removal on it, because I got this other enchantment that I need to make sure I can land. Have you guys in your community started to think of, like, how do we maybe put cards that are good, but maybe more bait removal cards?
I don't know if out loud, but I know I've certainly been toying with that idea where I just, you load up on threats a little more, right?
Yeah.
Or like those, sometimes you throw in like that 1/2 of a 2-card combo, just to suck out, like, you're not even playing the other half, right? You're only playing Blood Chief Ascension, like, just to get that shit out of the way.
It's something I've because I was a Grim Monolith collector before the pandemic, so I was able to get them for like $50 opposed to the 300 they are now. And so Grim Monolith was actually something I started doing that with. I would put it into decks without Power Artifact, because my community, my group knows that I am a Power Artifact Grim Monolith guy. I love making that infinite mana. And so sometimes I'll just play Grim. They're, oh my god, the combo's coming! And Power Artifact's not even in the 99. And it's like, oh, I don't know, guys. Maybe it's here. And then they waste that artifact removal, and I'm like, oh, darn. But inside, I'm like, yes, Chained Veil will live.
It's like playing a counterspell when you can't play a counterspell, right? Like, if they've wasted the card on something that you secretly don't give a crap about, good. Like,
good.
You killed my thing.
Yeah. And we didn't talk about it, but like Smothering Tithe could even be used as like one of those cards in the set, because I think you do have so many threats, but none of them are like omniscience. They're all just super annoying. And so the fact that they're all on that same power level still makes you, it's not like you're trying to trick us with some competitive deck or anything. It is like, this is the deck. It's just like the 6.5 power level. I just got like 40 of those options that are all STAX pieces. Yeah. So it's just all equally sucky.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to suck for you, and you're going to remove stuff, or you're not. And I'm going to just play more stuff like it, right? Like it's so
good.
The redundancy at the annoying card.
Redundancy. There we go. Better way. This deck is filled with redundancy. But what is your last yeast card? I know it's not the one that is the last on my list. So.
Is the one on your list Big Perf?
Hell no.
Big Perf, God of the Forge. One of my pet cards. I like to play it in lots of stuff. I like to play it in this deck for obvious reasons. Creatures come into play. It twos all of my opponents. I'm forcing people to attack me so I can make creatures. So that's some bonus damage for stuff that's happening anyway. But it's one of the few decks where I can reliably use Perforos' second ability, I think a lot of people overlook, to get in, if I've got a Blade Historian especially, a bunch more damage, in that he fire breathes your whole team for red 2.
Yep.
So you attack with 3 3/3s. That's 9 damage. Sure. You invest 3 mana, you get 3 more damage. You have double strike, you're getting 6 more damage. It's better than it sounds, and the more creatures you have, the more work he's going to do for you, on top of just the blatant value. And yes, I know it doesn't work with Hushbringer, but the Hushbringer is always dead before Perforos comes into play. 100% of the time, the Hushbringer is dead before Perforos comes down.
So the thing I appreciate the most about Perforos' card design is that second ability. I mean, the card's disgusting in most decks, but I love that Wizards didn't do, because Brando, you know they would do this. 2 colorless red, target creature you control gets +1/+0 till end of turn.
Oh, definitely.
That would have been so much worse, but that is kind of like what I feel like Wizards, a lot of fire breathing, it's usually not mass fire breathing, it's like a little bit. So just like kudos to them, back whenever they designed this. Hey, you know what? 3 mana, whether you got 1 creature or 100, they all get +1/+0.
Yeah. I love those, what is that, scalable?
Yeah,
there we go. It just gets way better depending on how much work you've done ahead of time. I like that. Yeah. It rewards you for doing the thing, which is cool.
Well, I want to talk about, for my last East card, Grand Master of Flowers. I like this card. I like it.
Why?
I like it in the deck.
Okay, explain it to me. Explain this to me.
2 colorless, white, mythic, 3 loyalty. He does have a static effect. As long as Grandmaster of Flowers has 7 or more loyalty counters on him, he's a 7/7 dragon god creature with flying and indestructible. And just to kind of clarify for the community, because I'm 90% sure it works like this. Just because a Planeswalker has indestructible, it still loses loyalty when they get damage.
Correct.
So this does not mean that his loyalty is just once you get to 7, it can never go down. It just means him as an attacker, kind of like Gideon Blackblade. On his turn, he would be indestructible. It's just like that. You can still lose loyalty, but it is whatever. But the 2 effects. Okay, we'll do the worthless one. +1, search your library or graveyard for a card named Monk of the Open Hand, reveal it, put it in, shuffle. It's not even in the deck.
Yeah.
Throw it to the side.
Spoiler alert, yeah.
I like this. +1, target creature without first strike, double strike, or vigilance can't attack or block until your next turn. So the thing I like about that is I would actually probably shift this card to your hop section, because I sense your confidence. I want people always swinging at me, and I can handle it. I could deal with it. I don't think you could deal with Annihilator 4. That would kind of suck.
Yes.
I don't think you could deal with exile the top 20 of your library. Yes, I'm mentioning Eldrazi's for a reason. There's a lot of, when this creature attacks, do this absurd effect. All of that is just going to be really bad for you. And so I think Grandmaster for 4 mana, also a diversion for your opponents to swing at. +1, those intimidating creatures that usually don't have a bunch of these keywords, they just have some crazy attack effect. Hey, until my next turn, that can't attack, and it's not going to be able to block my ogres. So it's actually going to help preserve your board, because I would say in a format where you are having partner non-partners partner together, you're going to get some disgusting big creatures. You're going to have some Phyrexians. You're going to have Eldrazi's. You're going to have some big, disgusting tokens that you just truly may not be able to manage. Mm-hmm. And so I think that +1 could be a saving grace for those one-offs. Now, could the card get cut and something better put in? Absolutely. But I do think it has a home in here as like a little bit of a pacifism once per turn.
I'll give you that. I still hate him.
I know. I'll say this. It's not your flavor.
There we go. Yeah. I tried playing it, and coincidentally, every time I've played this deck since I put Grandmaster in it, I've always drawn it. I play it. It sort of protects me for a little while. It rarely gets to turn into a creature for the big beats, and it just kind of soaks up maybe one big attack that I didn't want to block. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
So he just kind of dies real quick. Maybe it's just because people around where I live hate Planeswalkers, but he hasn't done a lot of work for me, and he's stupid with his frosted faux hawk and his not being a dragon all the time.
Oh,
screw
come
that
on!
Guy,
you know he's a surfer bro, man. He's on the West Coast. He's out there riding the big waves. I mean, not actually riding them. He's in the full sweatsuit with like $1,000 surfboard, just like polishing it, being like, "Yeah, bro, I'm waiting for that right wave. just gonna grind it." And then after 8 hours in his tan, he's like, "Oh man, it wasn't the time. I'll be back next weekend."
It wasn't right. I'm gonna drink my weird, really thick army green juice that I don't actually like, and then go home.
Yeah, look at this protein drink I made. And it's like, oh, let me take a swig. And it's like, wait, that's sludge. No, thank you.
I shan't. Yeah, like you flip the glass up and the liquid doesn't actually flow towards your mouth. And you're just like, nah, I'm not. Nah, you know what? I've had
the glass actually breaks and the glass just slides next to you, but the liquid's just still in like suspended form. Well, guys, thanks for the yeast. We don't have a spice package, so we're heading straight to the bottle capping.
Ooh.
And this will be Brando's time to hear BigTuck's and Mr. Combo's cuts and adds to the deck that'll be under $5, under $50, and a no budget recommendation. We just could not choose mana-only lands. So I've been talking a lot. I'm going to give BigTuck a chance to talk using my mouth hole, because that's just the way technology works. So his under $5, he wants to cut Aven Mind Sensor. Okay. So Aven Mind Sensor, guys, is 2 colorless white, creature, bird, wizard. It's a 2/1 flash flying, and if an opponent would tutor, they would only be able to look at the top 4 of their library. And what BigTuck wrote in is first... okay, here we go. Because he has it kind of broken out. I used to be big into Aven Mind Sensor Stan, but recently I haven't had it out when it has made a difference. Maybe my new playgroup doesn't run as many tutors, but I think you have enough Staxy stuff in here to keep them at bay. So the card, though, that he thinks you should add to here, and got to remember, guys, we are talking about BigTuck, but honestly, Brando, this card I think is actually on brand for this deck and exactly what you're wanting. He thinks a little Emberwild Captain might be in the cards for you. So, guys, if you guys are not familiar with Emberwild Captain, it's 3 colorless red. It's a Jin pirate. It's a 4/2. When it ETBs, you become the monarch. Whenever an opponent attacks you while you're the monarch, Emberwild Captain deals damage to that player equal to the number of cards in their hand. And what Tuck had to say with that is, first off, no monarch mechanic in the deck. Blasphemy! I added that. It's like a free card when you're playing STAX. Emberwild gives you that, plus gives even more deflection off of attacks. But granted, Tuck's not here to hear that you want to be attacked. But I think this still feeds in, Brando. You want people swinging at you. You have Kazzul making the ogres. And now it's you getting ogres, and they're taking 4 just off their hand. 5. That's great.
And Emberwild Captain makes Trove of Temptation way better too, doesn't it?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. All right. Yeah.
I'm going to put a little check mark next to that one.
Nice. Look at that, BigTuck.
Yeah, I even have an extra one. I was going to make a joke that his name should be Big Suck because he's not here to protect himself, but that was a good recommendation, so I take that back.
Don't worry, we still have 3 more picks from him to have him suck. So mine, I was actually going to cut Norn's Annex. And I actually really like this card, but I have some good reasons why. 3 colorless, Phyrexian white. So guys, if you're not familiar with like Phyrexian mana, you can either pay the color or pay 2 life. Creatures can't attack you unless, or a planeswalker you control, unless their controller pays Phyrexian white for each of those creatures. I actually don't think that this, it's fine. It's fine, but I think what I would like to see the deck do is not rely so much on my opponents having to attack us to get them to lose life to the tokens, and try to get some more things to where it's like we could use these stacks pieces to then kind of build up our board state and then actually be able to be proactive and hit. So the card that I think we should add in, Brando and I talked about it precast, Assemble the Legion. I think you just do the swap. I think that's a better swap. 3 colorless, red, white, or boros. Enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, put a muster counter on Assemble the Legion. Then put a 1/1 red and white soldier creature token with haste onto the battlefield for each muster counter on Assemble the Legion. And currently, guys, those are going for about $1.60. So I think this is a great card. I think this is casual catnip for people to use premium removal on it. Because this card can get insanely scary. Oh, yeah. But I have a little bit of synergy with my next pick that we'll get to in a bit around the red and white. But I really looked at this, and I mean, you got Cathar's Crusade in here. And when I say Cathar's Crusade, we got to have ways to consistently get tokens without relying on our opponents to have any say in the matter. And at least Assemble the Legion, you're at least getting 1, then 2, then 3. And that Cathar's Crusade can really build up. Do you think cutting Norn's Annex they're both 5 CMC, so we're not even increasing cost. Do you think that's a fair swap?
The only reason it's not in here already, because I really like that card, especially with Cathar's Crusade, is because I had a self-imposed, I tried to limit the number of red and white things I played in order to convince people to let me play the deck. But if you guys are cool with me playing Assemble the Legion, I can virtually guarantee Assemble the Legion will make an appearance in this deck list.
Oh, 1,000%, bro.
That is a great card.
We have no restrictions, no ban list. Just it has to be a legal commander deck outside of how you're doing your partners. So have at it.
You guys are going to regret that. You know that, right?
So the next card for under 50, BigTuck. Dude, he's cutting Goblin Diplomats. What the hell?
Big suck. Come on.
So, and now you can assign him Big Suck. Honestly, there are about 20 cards I would cut because I hate STAX deck. But I understand what we're trying to do here, so we'll give him a pass. I feel the goblins are interesting, but I feel like you have enough effects on enchantments / are playing enough cards. I disagree with that. I love me some Goblin Diplomats. But let's see what Tuck thinks we should be putting in. He thinks the card you should be swapping it for is Chandra Awakened Inferno. 4 colorless, red, 6 loyalty. This spell can't be countered. +2. Each opponent gets an emblem with, at the beginning of your upkeep, this emblem deals 1 damage to you. -3. Chandra Awakened Inferno deals 3 damage to each non-elemental creature. -X. Chandra Awakened Inferno deals X damage to target creature or planeswalker. If a permanent is dealt damage this way, it would die this turn. Exile it instead. And his logic there was, so we definitely need some ways to win this game, so why not jam another planeswalker to trigger off of your good boy Mila, the other planeswalker. Chandra clears the board of little guys at the cost of your ogres, and also starts putting a quick clock on your opponents. But how can you defend her, you ask? See, potentially the next pick. So how do you feel about Chandra Awakened Inferno? I think we could both agree, Goblin Diplomats, slam dunk in here.
Absolutely.
But for the other reasons, do you think Chandra deserves a spot?
I have a love-hate relationship
with Chandra Awakened Inferno because she costs so much to play initially, and your initial benefit is 1 damage per opponent per upkeep, which is nothing. And in most of the decks I play her in, she just gets removed immediately, right?
Yeah.
Even in this deck, like, people will pay the 3, 4, 5 mana, whatever it is, to attack me, and let their creature take 2 damage from the light mine field to make sure that Chandra dies.
Yeah.
And I found that happens a lot. And when you've invested 6 mana in a spell that's just immediately dusted, it just feels bad. And especially cutting something like Goblin Diplomats for it. Like, I totally understand where BigTuck's coming from, and I like the slow build up of the emblems, but I just feel like you're only going to get 1, 2 emblems tops before she just dies. And the deck doesn't have enough hard lock pieces where you can just say, look, you guys are taking 5 damage a turn. You're never going to untap a land ever again.
Yeah.
Do you
just
concede?
Call it quits. We're good. GG's.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, the deck doesn't do that. And I think that's what we have to do to make Chandra not good enough, but good enough.
Yeah, no, I think that's a fair statement to say. And I'll say this. I mean, I'm not a fan of the... I love the +2 and I love the stackable of the emblems. I actually think that's a very cool idea. And emblems, as we all know, can't go away. I think the only reason this is an absolute no for me is because I look at it from this perspective. 6 mana is a lot. What do we normally do for 6 mana in Boros? I mean, that's like 1 mana away from Gisela type shenanigans.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, we got to be we're just a little bit worse than her. And really, the -3 might as well not read anything because you're never going to do it because you're losing all your ogres. That is desperate times calls for desperate measures, and you're probably just doing a normal board wipe.
With Rune-Tail in play, I won't lose anything.
Fair. That's fair.
Right?
That's fair.
So the -3 isn't terrible. And I mean, I feel like that's what I'd play her for. But if I'm going to do that, there's probably something that doesn't cost 6 that I can use to do 3 damage to all the creatures, right?
That's super fair.
I could play Sweltering Suns.
My under 50, I'm cutting Perforos. Pet card, get it. And if you want to leave it, totally fine. The only reason I wanted to cut it is because there's not enough creature or token generation in this deck, in my opinion, never seeing it played, to make Perforos really pop off. I hear the Kazzul stuff. I hear that. I guess I'm gonna see it in a month, but I guess I'm gonna have to see it to believe it. Of the someone swinging 6 at me and they can't pay 18, and I got 6 ogres. That's 12 damage to each opponent. I just don't know if we're gonna see enough of that to make Perforos just make a lot of sense.
Okay.
But Listen to this bad boy. And this is why I talked about Assemble the Legion being real good.
No, Assemble the
How about
Legion
a Balefire
also.
Liege?
Oh. Wait, Balefire Liege. Hang on. I know what that is.
Two colorless, hybrid. Of course, it's all Boros. Creature Spirit Horror. It's a 2/4. Other red creatures you control get +1/+1. Other white creatures you control get +1/+1. Whenever you cast a red spell, Balefire Liege deals 3 damage to target player. Whenever you cast a white spell, you gain 3 life. So I went through your deck. You got a lot of colors. It's a lot of white. But you kind of talked about it with Hushbringer earlier. Hey, she's not going to be like living in the red zone, but I got to be above 30. She can kind of help supplement that for Rune-Tail. Balefire Liege does that 3 times better. Basically getting a reverse lightning bolt to your life total. And then when you need to start target removing people, hey, I wish I could attack through, but they too are STAX player. Tip of the cat to you. Well, how about I just start lightning bolting you 2-3 times a turn? We'll go back 2-3 times in that turn, and you can just slowly ping them down through lightning bolts. But then all of your other opponents, your creatures at bare minimum are getting +1/+1. But then your freaking Assembled Legions are getting 3/3s. So they get your 4/4 ogres, and they got these 3/3 red-white soldiers, and you're just going to pound town on everyone's life totals. So Balefire Liege, I didn't mention, is coming in at about $3. So what do you think about Perforos for the Liege?
I mean, maybe I could play both. Especially when I play Assemble, because Assemble the Legion and Perforos is pretty good.
That is very good. That is very good.
But I mean, I thought about Balefire Liege when I initially
Conceptualized the deck.
Yeah.
And again, just because of the building restriction that I had put on for myself, I ended up playing Blade Historian because it just does more damage right away.
Yeah.
But I do like a Balefire Liege, and I already have some that I never get to play.
There you go.
Maybe I could find a spot for them in here.
Yeah. Well, and like that's the thing that I've loved about this challenge is nobody's saying that what you're doing, you have to keep that deck forever. I mean, technically, we all have illegal decks that need Rule 0 conversations. Yeah. So it's like, fuck it, throw it in there. Because, I mean, it's like, how often do you get to play that? And so you throw in the Balefire Liege, and like maybe on stream you finally get to see it. I mean, I doubt it, but maybe you do. And then maybe it just whoops some candy ass. And it's like, oh, that was really good. Worked way better than I thought. Or you might see like, I got a little Anthem effect, and I didn't really get much other than that. Okay, it didn't do what I thought it would.
Yeah, give it the bounce.
Give it the old college try.
Yeah, I mean, it couldn't hurt.
Unless it
All right, BigTuck, no budget.
All right, what is
he wants to cut Trinisphere.
What?
3 colorless mythic artifact. If it's untapped, each spell that would cost less than 3 mana costs 3 mana to cast. So essentially, guys, to give you an example of a spell that would cost a colorless black would cost 2 colorless black. Just essentially, the colors stay the same. It's just the total CMC has to equal 3. His logic...
If you're cascading into something, your free spell costs 3 now.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. Trinisphere is real good. It has its own step in like the resolution of a thing. If you look at the rules, there's like a Trinisphere step. That's how good Trinisphere is. That's a good ass card. You want to play some Storm?
Trinisphere.
Get the f out of here with your Storm.
Well, Trinisphere makes BigTuck's Jund and Rakdos brain hurt. It also cuts off a lot of your early plays. And with the quote-unquote grain section you've put together, I think this may end up slowing you down a little bit too much, but also maths, as you call them up there, is for suckers. And before I read his next card, what would a Boros deck be without one of my potential Magic the Gathering brides? It gives extra protection, leaves your ogres out, and then turns them into flying monstrosities. Don't mind if I do. He wants to add his fucking pet card. Hey, be proud of me. I didn't put Alter the Brood in mine. Elspeth, Sun's Champion. 4 colorless, white. Planeswalker Elspeth comes in with 4 loyalty. You could pick up a copy for about $8. +1, put 3 1/1 white soldier creature tokens onto the battlefield. I mean, that kind of goes in with the Perforos and the Go White. I mean, we just kind of talked about that. Yeah. Here's where I think I actually like this card better than the Chandra. -3, destroy all creatures, power 4 or greater.
Yeah.
I'm keeping all my ogres, baby. Like, fuck off.
Well, except like my ogre factory would eat shit, but I guess.
Yeah.
small price to
Yeah,
pay
but
sometimes.
I feel like that's probably an effect you're doing. Either I got to save myself from my opponents because I can't even recover if they attack me, or you've just been neutered, and it's like I kind of need a level set to make the game go. But
Yeah.
I like this -7. You get an emblem with creatures you control get +2/+2 and have flying.
Ooh.
That's real nice. That's real spicy.
Ooh.
So I know you were anti the Trinisphere getting cut. But, I mean, do you feel like Elspeth maybe gives you more gas than Trinisphere can slow down?
Well, let me counter your question with a question, Mr. Combo.
Okay.
How many low CMC spell slinger bullshit decks do you think I'll be playing in May? Because, if there's a bunch of those, I'll probably
Yeah.
keep the Trinisphere. But
I
if we're
mean,
going to be playing a lot of swingy beats, then maybe this Elspeth gimmick might work.
Yeah, I mean, I can at least say my deck ain't nothing small. My average CMC is like 4.9, 4.8. So I don't know if that's going to really matter to moi. I think that -3 would suck a lot more for my deck. But I think it's just I think this is one of these perfect deck building things to where it's like, okay, am I putting in a card in the 99 because of the possibility that my opponent's one person might be Cascadey, Spellslingery, Stormy? Or do I put a card in my 99 that directly interacts with what my deck actually wants and will win me the game? I guess that's kind of where, is it the bird in the hand versus bird in the bush type thing? Do you want what you actually know you have, or is it the potential possibility?
I see that for sure. And I think maybe one of the reasons why I also play the Trinisphere is it denies my opponent's mana. So when they try to attack me, they don't have the mana
Very
to pay either to attack me or for Kazzul. And that's why most of that stuff is. That's why I play the Sphere of Resistance and the things that just make spells cost more, right? Because then you don't have the mana to stop me from getting dudes. So it either keeps you from attacking me entirely, or it just feeds my battle plan. But at the same time, Elspeth's pretty good, although I don't have one. And
really, you don't have a Suns champion?
I don't play white, man. This is the whitest deck I have. I'm a
It's so
player,
white.
dude.
It thinks mayonnaise is a part of the food pyramid.
Probably. It's so white you couldn't see it if it was snowing. But here we are. And
we are.
Maybe I could get, I'm going to put a question mark next to that one. Maybe I'll see.
All right.
I should probably own one of those cards anyway, right? It's pretty good.
All right. Well, my no budget pick.
Also, a no budget, limitless pick anything card. He picks an $8 6-mana Planeswalker.
It's good, man. I picked a $3.50 card.
Oh, you're even worse. Mr. Combo numbers suck. That's who you are.
Well, I actually did what you asked. I'm cutting Winter Orb from the deck.
Sick.
2 colorless artifact. If it's untapped, players can't untap more than 1 land during their untapped steps. Actually, the only reason I'm cutting it from your deck is because it actually serves no purpose or value for your deck. You have no way to interact with it.
Beyond the mana denial. Because I'm forcing you to attack. And me sitting there doing nothing nets me ogres. You sitting there doing nothing nets me ogres.
Well, how about I net you some hobgoblins? Let's add in Rise of the Hobgoblins. Hybrid boros enchantment. When Rise of the Hobgoblins comes into play, you may pay X. If you do, put X 1/1 red and white goblin soldier creature tokens into play. Activation cost. Hybrid boros. Red creatures and white creatures you control gain first strike until end of turn. I really, really like this card because STAX, and you've talked about it, you were trying to play that long game. You're getting out a lot of your lands out of the deck. I see Rise of the Hobgoblins being that beautiful spice card for your deck where you've been trying to do your thing. Kazzul costs freaking 11, and you're like, I'm not really paying 11 to get this dude out and have everyone then probably pay 3. Well, let me put 11 into this and get 9 1/1 red and white soldier creature tokens that get 9 Perforos triggers, that get the double strike, that get the Balefire Liege +2/+2 because they are both colors. I think it's going to give you a mana sink when you're not sure what to do. But then the first strike ain't half bad either, because if you don't have Rune-Tail out, this kind of gives you pseudo indestructible because you'll be able to get your damage on them first.
Yeah, I like that. That's a good one. And also good, I have one of those.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, and I liked this because I know you wanted to build goblins and didn't have the time to do it. And I was like, let me give this guy some goblins.
Yeah, I might just put that in there for posterity because it's a goblin card. And another card that I really like that I've never had the opportunity to play in a deck.
I'll add that one too.
Tuck and I both actually have a bonus card before we wrap up the episode and get feedback from Brando on this. His bonus card, verbatim, Brando. How can you run a Boros deck and not have your boy, the Taint Painter, a.k.a. Brash Taunter, in here? For shame.
100% truth. I actually do have one pulled to go into the deck after I did the episode with you guys. So I'm right there with you, Tuck. There will be a Brash Taunter in this deck come May. It will happen.
All right. Here's my bonus card, $23.
Oh, shit.
I don't know if you have a copy of it because I had never heard of it.
Okay.
But Brando, you're going to get to a point where you need to close out this sumbitch, and you don't need to be playing more lands. You got your 10, 12 lands. Waves of Aggression. 3 colorless hybrid Boros sorcery. It has Retrace. Before I read the effect, it has Retrace. You may play this card from your graveyard by discarding a land card in addition to paying its other costs. Guys, the great thing about this is it doesn't exile itself. You can just keep doing it over and over and over again. You ready, Brando?
I am.
Untap all creatures that attacked this turn. After this main phase, there's an additional combat phase followed by an additional main phase. Late game, when you got your shit going and you do not need lands, pay 5. Let me get a extra combat. Let me discard a land card, pay 5, get another extra combat. Basically, as long as you're discarding lands, you're getting an extra combat every single time for that. I mean, you got to pay the 5 mana. But I think this is a card that you could say, okay, late game, we've talked about it. I got 12 lands out. Okay. I don't have quite enough to kill anyone. Oh, wait. Waves of Aggression. Just sneak it out of fucking nowhere. Oh, I needed 3 combats to kill this player? Okay.
I have them now.
Swing. Boom. Waves of Aggression. Hit him again. Retrace. Waves of Aggression again. Fuck you. And the next turn, you're doing it to the next guy. This card, I think, is your secret game winner in this deck.
I like that. I think I might have one of those too.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, well, I played back then.
Eventide.
Right? Yeah, Eventide, man. There's all sorts of bangers in there that they just, I don't know, they just felt like they didn't want to reprint them anymore. But I'm sure I have one of those.
I'm going to put a question mark next to that one. I'm going to look in my box when we're done recording the show, and you guys are going to regret all of this
because it's
going to be. I'm not going to regret any of it. I'm going to love every GD minute of it. Let me tell you that. And guys, thanks for making it until the end of the episode. And hey, if you enjoyed it, leave us some positive feedback on whatever consumption platform you found us, listen to us on, even maybe send a nice little tweet. And if you'd actually like to get a hold of the people here and find out some of our content and where to find it, here's how you can do that. You can reach me and all the content we do over at CMDtower.com and at Mr. Commodore 5 on Twitter, all spelled out except for the 5. Brando, CCO Nation, where can people find you? Where can they find your guys' content, and how can they support you?
Well, I am CCO Brando on Twitter, if you want to find me there. CommanderCookout.com is probably the easiest way to find us. We're on all major social media platforms, CCO Podcast, we're on YouTube, or everywhere you want us to be. If you liked what I said here, or you look at the show and you enjoy it, patreon.com/CCO Podcast. If you can help us grow and move along, we're starting some really exciting new content in the next few months. So, I mean, bookmark it, check it out. We really appreciate it. When we get to 3,000 subs on YouTube, we're going to blow something up with an actual explosion. We're thinking possibly, if we can get a good deal on it, a box of double feature. We're going to detonate one on the internet.
Oh my God.
So, I mean, that's what I'm pushing for, but we have to be able to like afford one first. So we have to wait for like the everybody hates this and now it's super cheap sale. But depending on how long we take to get there. But that's the kind of stuff that we do over in the nation. Everybody's welcome. We'd love to have you. So check us out if you got some time and the inclination.
You can always go to our main Twitter as well to find out what's going on the channel at CMDtower as well. Also, we will have this deck list posted, an accompanying article, any accompanying videos at cmdtower.com/BNBE133. Essentially, guys, if you just type into the Amazon web space, Chaosphere Mangara, the Diplomat, the Ready Scrap Servant, Savant, Tower.com. Now, of course, we talked about our Patreon earlier, patreon.com/CMDtower. We really just appreciate any kind of support you could bring us. We're always trying to collaborate with our community, like the Collective Diagnosis. Like after this month of our partner non-partner, we're actually going to have one of our Patreons on Brews and Builds, doing one of their decks. And all of those are benefits on top of us doing playmats and sleeves and tokens and all that kind of crap that we give out to you guys for supporting us. So patreon.com/CMDtower, go check it out. And of course, you might have seen on stream, whether it's me, BigTuck, Murphys, whatever, some of our sweet swag. Could be our sweaters, could be our playmats, any of that kind of stuff. If you'd like to get a hold of that, cmdtower.com/merch. Anything you guys could do to help out, we'd really appreciate it. I actually did a great life goal for myself, and I completed it. I actually organized all of our merch, and it's in this beautiful stack now in my basement, opposed to just being fucking chaos everywhere. It's great. For guys, I kid you not, for like 3 months, I had like 70 sweaters just taking over here. It was like a freaking elf ball army. I couldn't handle it. Now, fairly new partnership that we have, abyssproxyshop.com. This is the playtest person that I've been using for well over half a decade. And the thing that I love about them is that if you type custom card into their site, they will design any type of proxy, playtest, however you want to use your verbiage, magic card out there that you could use for a deck. And if you use code CMDtower, you're getting 10% off your order. We're getting a little bit of kickback as well. And on top of that, it's combinable with every other discount they have on their site. So if you want those free freaking dual lands that they're handing out, go for it. If you want to get the extra 20% or an extra, whatever free shipping, you get that too. And I will say thank you so much to our community, because we started this in February. From February to March, you guys basically did 10x the amount of sales. So I'm super excited to see what April's going to bring. But we're at the end of the episode. And Brando, Brews and Builds, Kazzul's Lucky Rune-Tail. I'm not going to lie. I'm a little scared and excited.
Ooh.
I don't know what to equate that to, but how do you feel the dialogue went about the deck? And actually, what I'm more curious about is how do you feel like the cuts and ads are going to work? And your final thought on, is partner, non-partner, just this busted thing, and this is just a fun, cool thought experiment?
Partner, non-partner, I'll start with that. I think that this is going to be a great game. It's going to be super interesting. And I think, based on conversations I've had with you and what I know about Tuck, I don't think it's going to be as broken as it could be, because there are definitely some combinations that would just blow the format open. I don't think anybody's going to be playing those. At least I hope not.
Yeah.
As far as the cuts and ads go, I'm pretty pumped about this. I really like that Emberwild Captain. I like the Assemble the Legion. I like the Waves of Aggression. And I think it's going to make the deck nothing but better. And I can cut some stuff that I already hate. So cool. I mean, I'm breaking my own rules, but since I made the rules, I can do whatever I want.
Yeah, absolutely.
If I want to break them, I heckin' will. So I'm excited for how everything went. I'm pumped to play the game with you guys. I'm glad that I got included in this madcap experiment that you're doing. And overall, I think that this is going to be a great time and a really cool deck when I'm done with it.
Yeah, I think this, Brando, I think in the cuts and ads section, the cuts you could kind of throw out the window. I would almost say if you're like, I got these cards laying around, and I think this is just going to make the deck that much better. I almost think you could probably go into your list and like, what's just blatant stacks and what's the stacks that's forcing combat to me and forcing combat in general. And you might be able to take out some of the just generic, them wasting mana. And it's like, I want you wasting all your resources on the combat. I always want you in that red zone, always swinging, always trying to do something. And maybe that makes room for a few of these cards, because the challenge that Tuck and I have had, and we'll be getting your thoughts on Big Tuck's deck, is you've actually got to play this deck a few times, so you kind of have a little bit of an idea. But I mean, I doubt you've played it 50 times or 30 times, or it's in standard rotation. So sometimes it's hard to be able to do that objective look, because like with my deck, I literally just built it online 2 weeks ago. I don't know what the fuck needs to get cut, and like anything that you tell me needs to get cut, and I'm like, no, I just put it in there. I don't even know how it works. So I think this could almost be this like pivot of, well, I like these cards, and you've actually got to play the deck, and it's like, well, I might want to just be more combat focused, or you know what, I want them spending all their mana to do this, and I think that's where these extra cards can easily slot in.
Yeah, and I'm into that very much, and I think that that's going to be like, because my deck isn't as sturdy probably as the ones you're building based on its flimsy mana base, but I do think that doing the pivot of, hey, I know what my deck does. I know how all the cards work together, and I've actually seen them played, and that's something that I'll have going over all three of you guys, which will keep me in contention because I actually know that my deck works, and you guys don't, and that's pretty cool.
It's exactly right. Well, guys, thanks for being here, and as always, see you later.